Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. We're going to be talking about the spirit. Yes, the spirit. Now, remember, we were talking about more about astral travel the day before, and we learned all about astral travel. We learned about the astral plane and how it affects you. This is all coming from this book here. This is from Franz Bardon. This is the initiation into hermetics, and I thought we all should get a load of this and talk about it because it is kind of quite interesting. Now, who wouldn't want to learn about this stuff? You know, the Akashic, the records. Don't mind that; it's just the dogs. They're trying to tell us something. Anyway, the spirit. Tonight we're going to be talking about the spirit, but I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you all for being here. I can't say it from the bottom of my heart and joining me here tonight. Um, but anyway, I push on with trying to get all this read, but we're cruising right along through this book, and I'm trying to hit the highlights. Remember, go out, don't take my word for it. Go out and do some study for yourself. Practice. See what happens to you. Report back. Say, hey, this is what I did. Was my experience. Because we all have a different experience, and it's great to share. And I would like to hear your story because I do the same thing, and I'll tell you mine. And we'll exchange. That's the thing. Anyway, we're going to start out with the spirit tonight. Okay, it has been mentioned previously that man has been created in the image of God, that his consciousness of body and soul and spirit. Now we gather from the previous chapters that the body and the soul serve only as a shell garment for the spirit, and for they are only transitory. Therefore, only the spirit is the immortal part and the image of God. It is difficult to analyze something divine, something immortal, something eternal, and to find the proper words. Even here, we can only employ the help of the key of teleportal magnet, just as we can with any other problem. Well, and of course, I'm going to get to Sharon because you don't want to see my ugly mug all the time. And so we're going to go right to this. There you go. On our highest primordial principle, the Akasha, the source of existence, out of the prime spiritual substance came forth the spirit. The spirit, the I, with the specific attributes of the elements which belong to the immortal spirit, who was created in God's image. The question is what God looked like? The fiery principle. The impulsive part is the will. The airy principle shows the self in the intellect. The watery principle makes itself known as life. Let me just move on to this stuff. I think there we go. There's our 5 elements again. The I, the specific attributes, the fiery principle, the watery principle makes itself known as life, as feelings. The earthly principle shows itself as the unification of all 3 elements and in the I consciousness. All the other attributes of the spirit have these 4 primordial principles as their foundation. The typical part of the 5th principle, the ether principle, the Akasha, shows itself in the highest aspect as belief, in its lowest form as instinct for self-preservation. Each of the 4 principles of the elements mentioned here has a more aspects exactly in accordance with the law of analogy, of the polarities, or of the elements, in the positive and the negative sense. Altogether, they form the I, or the spirit. Therefore, we attribute to the fiery principle energy, might, and passion. The airy principle, memory, the power to judge and differentiate. That's my tongue tied. Sorry about that, everybody. Watery principle, consciousness and intuition. Earthly principle, egotism and the instinct for self-preservation and propagation. It would be too voluminous to list all the qualities of the spirit with respect to all the elements. Aspiring initiate can expand upon these qualities on his own, though diligent study and intense meditation by considering the laws of analogy of the telepolar magnet. This is very rewarding work, and it should never be neglected, since it produces a great success and secures good results as far as cognition and mastery of the elements are concerned. In the 3 chapters dealing with the body and the soul and the spirit, Franz Bardon has described the human being as in his consummate form. By now, it must be obvious to the student how necessary it is to have the knowledge of one's own little universe for the initiation, namely in the practice of magic, mysticism, yes, in all secrets. Most authors have failed to write about the most important part, the foundation, either because of total ignorance or the sound reasons. Okay, well, there we go. And I'll stop for a second. But anyway, see, that's the thing. So now we know about the spirit. Now we're going to go on to the mental plane. Hope you get this stuff. You got the spirit and the water and the thing, and I hope you're learning about that. I mean, the funny part is we all have a spirit, don't we? You have a spirit. And if you do, how come you don't know much about it? Just ask it. Do you ever think about that? You got to read it in a book. You already have one, and you just don't know the directions on how to use it. Reminds me of that show, Greatest American Hero, back in the 90s. Remember that show where the guy had the suit, but he lost the instructions, so he couldn't fly in the suit. He couldn't do a lot of things. He just kind of had to wing it. But that's the thing. You have a spirit, and you don't even know how to use it. You've lost the instructions. So we're going to move on to the mental plane. All you gurus out there, step on board, for we're going on the guru train. There we go, the mental plane. Just as a physical body has an earthly plane, the astral body or the soul has the astral plane. So it has the spirit's own plane, the mental sphere or mental plane. Spirit can at times be interchanged with mind. This sphere or the sphere of the spirit with its energies or powers. Both spheres, the material as well as the astral, came into being through the 4 elements, which came out of the kasha or cause principle of the appropriate sphere. The mental sphere is founded on the same basis as it too came forth from the kasha principle of the spirit. The spirit forms within itself a telepolar magnet through appropriate works and shows outwardly as electromagnetic fluids analogous to the astral body as a result of the activities of the elements as effects relevant to their polarity. That is how the mental body behaves in the mental or spiritual sphere. Just as the astral body forms an astral matrix through the electromagnetic fluid of the astral world, the so-called astral odd, that is how the electromagnetic fluid of the mental worlds form a mental matrix that binds the mental body to the astral body. The mental matrix or the mental odd, the so-called mental substance, is the most subtle form of the akasha. It regulates and maintains the activity of the spirit in the astral body. As mentioned before, this mental substance is at the same time electromagnetic and serves as a conduit of thoughts and ideas to the conscious of the spirit. This mental substance sets the consciousness into motion by means of the astral and physical bodies. Therefore, the mental matrix or the mental odd, which or with its bipolar fluid, is the subless substance that we can imagine in the physical body. The mental sphere is at the same time the sphere of thoughts, which have their origin in the world of ideas. In the akasha of the spirit, each thought is preceded by a basic idea, which, in accordance with its attributes, takes on a particular form and reaches the consciousness of the I as a thought form or a plastic picture through the ether principle, or in other words, through the mental matrix. Therefore, a human being is not the originator of his own thoughts. Yeah, do you ever wonder where those thoughts come from? They got to come from somewhere. Oops, we're going to go back. That's a cool picture too. Where are you getting your thoughts? Do you ever think of that? Where are your thoughts coming from? Let's find out. So, therefore, a human being is not the originator of his own thoughts. Instead, the source of every thought is to be found in the highest spheres of the akasha or the mental sphere. The spirit of a human being is, so to speak, the receiver. He is the antenna for the thoughts that come to the world of ideas in accordance with the position and situation in which he finds himself. Since the world of ideas is the all in all. It's amazing how they describe these things. I don't know about you, but it's almost more confusing listening to them describe it. So it's like your body is a remote control. This is what I'm trying to imagine in my head. So you're floating above your body in your spirit, but you're controlling your body like a remote control car. Maybe that's why we crash sometimes, huh? Let's find out. Since the world of ideas is in all, we may therefore say that every new thought, every new invention, in short, everything that human beings believe they have created through their own ingenuity, has been taken out of the world of ideas. Taking these new ideas out of the world of ideas depends upon the attitude and the maturity of the spirit. Each thought has within itself a completely pure element, especially when the thought contains abstract ideas. Should there be several combinations from the world of ideas present within that thought, then there are several elements effective among each other in their form as well as their whatever. Only abstract thoughts have pure elements and pure polar malleations because they originate directly from the causal world of an idea. So you need an idea, you need to think of an idea, and then if you're able to imagine that idea, then it could become real. I guess that's what they're saying. On the basis of this knowledge, you can gather that there are pure electric, pure magnetic, indifferent, and neutral thoughts as far as their effects are concerned in existence. In the mental sphere, every thought has its own form, color, and malleation or vibration in accordance with its idea. The thought reaches the consciousness through the teleportal magnet of the spirit and is transmitted by the magnet until it becomes reality. Everything created in the physical world has its cause through the thought and the consciousness of the spirit in the world of ideas, and of course, also its reflection. If you are not dealing directly with an abstract idea, then several forms of thoughts can be expressed. These thoughts are either electric, magnetic, or electromagnetic. It always depends upon what kind of element attribute is present in the thought. Well, isn't that special? I hope you understood all that because I sure did. I don't know how I understood it, but I kind of get it. And I hope you get it too. Okay, we'll move on. The physical or material plane is bound to time and space. That's right. We're bound to that stupid clock on the wall. The astral plane, the sphere of the transitory or transformable spirit, is bound to space. The mental sphere is spaceless and timeless. That's right. Because if you're in the astral, you can't be in the physical. And if you're in the physical, you can't be in the astral. But in your mental spot, you can be in both. I think that's what it's trying to say. The same applies to all attributes of the spirit. However, through the connecting link of the mental and astral matrices, which are bound in their total form to time and space, the mental body requires a certain amount of time to become conscious of the perception of a thought. The train of thought is different with everyone because it depends upon the maturity of the spirit. So the question is, are you a mature spirit? Or are you like these little kids? See that kid? He's going to fall in the river. Oh, maybe it's a cliff. He's going to fall off that cliff. But if you really look, is that lady with the wings going to push him off of there? Or is she there to save him? Good question, isn't it? I'd like to hear your answer. Is she pushing him or is she saving him? You'd like to think that she's saving him. Maybe she's going to push him off, show him, teach him a lesson. You never know. See, I'm terrible. Besides that, the mental sphere is also the sphere of elements. These are beings that were created either knowingly or unknowingly by individuals through the repeated intensive thinking. An elemental being does not possess the density to form or assume for itself an astral shell. It therefore has its effect on the spiritual sphere. The difference between a thought form and an elemental is that the thought form has one or more ideas in its basis. The elemental, however, is endowed with a certain amount of consciousness, and therefore with the instinct for self-preservation, but otherwise it does not distinguish itself by much from mental living beings, and it can even have the same form as the thought form. Initiates and veil themselves quite often of these elemental beings. In the practical part of this book, a detailed account is given of how such an elemental is created, maintained, and how it can be employed for particular tasks. Much more could be said about mental sphere, especially about the particular specific attributes of the individual beings, but this should suffice for the stimulus to work, and as a rough outline in regards to the explanations given about the mental plane. The truth. Now we will leave the microcosm, the human being with the earthly, astral, and mental bodies, and direct our attention towards other tasks, which the aspiring initiate will have to deal in due time. Above all stands the problem of truth. Many philosophers have frequently occupied themselves with the tasks that it is also incumbent upon us to deal with it. There you go. Here we will only deal with those truths of which we have precise knowledge. Truth depends upon the conscience of each individual, and since all of us do not have one and the same conscience, we cannot generalize the problem of truth. That is why every individual, provided he is certain, has his own truth from his own point of view and in accordance with his maturity and conscience. Only the one who knows the masters, the absolute laws of the microcosm and the macrocosm and the microcosm, can speak of an absolute truth. Anyone will certainly acknowledge certain aspects of the absolute truth. No one will doubt the existence of life that will memory, and intellect. Certainly, he will refrain from denying these things. The true initiate will never force anyone who has not reached a certain level of maturity to accept his truth. That particular person would again view the truth from his own point of view. It would therefore serve no purpose to discuss higher truths with the uninitiated, except for those who are strive towards these higher truths and begin to mature for these truths. All else would have to be considered profane and, from the magical point of view, incorrect. Bear in mind the words of the great master of Christianity: do not cast your pearls before swine. The ability to differentiate knowledge from wisdom belongs to truth. Knowledge on all levels of human existence depends upon maturity, repensivity, intelligence, and memory. Regardless of whatever, we have enriched our knowledge by reading and transferring in communications or other experiences. There is a vast difference between knowledge and wisdom. It is considerably less difficult to gain knowledge than it is to attain wisdom. Yes, there sure is. Wisdom is not at all dependent upon knowledge. Although both are identical to a certain degree, the source of wisdom is within God, in the causal principle, in the Akasha, on all planes of the material and astral and mental worlds. Therefore, wisdom does not depend on the intellect and the memory, but upon the maturity and purity of perfection and the personality of the individual. You could also consider wisdom to be a state of development of the I. That looks like a robot, doesn't it? Robot with wings. Consequently, science is not given to us but by the intellect, but especially through intuition and inspiration. Therefore, the degree of wisdom determines one's level of development. That does not mean that we should neglect knowledge. On the contrary, knowledge and wisdom must go hand in hand. I never had this on. Man, I should have had that microphone on. But all from intellect pointing view are the other worlds bipolarly, and make use of them for his development. One of the many laws, the first major key, the mystery of the tetragrammaton. Oh, that's the last one in this one, isn't it? We got to go back to that one. I don't like that picture. One of these many laws, the first major key and mystery of the tetragrammaton is the teleportal magnet in all planes, has already been discussed. Since it is the universal key, it can be used for solving all problems, all laws, for every truth. In short, it can be used for everything, provided the initiate understands how to use this key properly. In the course of time, while his development unfolds, he perfects himself in the hermetic sciences. He will learn different aspects of this key and acknowledge these aspects as immutable laws. He will not grope about in the darkness and uncertainty. Instead, he will hold a light in his hand with which he will be able to penetrate any ignorance. The brief description should suffice. Okay, so anyway, I hope that goes for your truth too. There you go. Now you know the difference between wisdom and truth. Wisdom does not it takes intelligence, but you don't have to have knowledge to have truth. And wisdom. You can have wisdom and not have any knowledge, but you can memorize knowledge. So reading a book and memorizing it is not the same as actually just having intuition and wisdom, because wisdom is more of a common sense from the gut thing. It's that intellect, it's that intelligence you gain by experiences and things like that. Well, anyway, well, folks, I hope that was good for you. Well, and thanks for joining me tonight. This was really great. I hope you learned something from all of that. And catch me here next time as we go through more of this stuff. And remember to go out, do something nice for somebody else. If it's just wave at them or give them a big smile. But remember, go out and be the frequency you want to be. Peace, everybody. Love y'all.